Handshake Mastermind. Again, this is an open protocol at Handshake. We're just a normal director, fan of Handshake. Anybody here is welcome to start their own Twitter Spaces, their own podcast blogs. So just want to always keep that in mind. You don't need to wait for us. And we are also adjusting it where SkyInclude account is hosting this, and I'm a speaker, but so we're also getting adjusted to that right now. That's why there was a minute delay or so. And we have been listening to your feedback. So I'm Mike Michelini and started SkyInclude actually almost 2 years ago exactly as a YouTube channel and blog to help people understand how to use Handshake and build on Handshake, not just buy and sell domains. So Mike Carson might not be able to make it. He says he's evacuating Florida due to the Hurricane Nicole, unfortunately. So let's all hope he and everyone dealing with that situation is safe and gets through that okay. Actually, my parents are in Florida. I just spoke to them. They're staying there actually, but I just wish everybody the best that's dealing with any kind of hurricanes or any kind of troubles. It's also a bloody day in crypto. The last couple of days have been pretty monumental for the industry at large. Handshake is pretty interesting because it's a mix of crypto and domains or traditional internet. But of course, the coin of Handshake is getting hit pretty bad. I think it's at all-time low today. So, but a lot of coins and tokens are getting hit pretty hard right now. Like, I think the rule of investing, whether it's crypto or domains or anything, is don't invest more than you can handle. So I just hope you're all safe with that. So today's agenda, we have a few different things to talk about. And we also, this is an open stage, anybody can request to be a speaker. We allow everyone to come up and share. Some little bit of adjustments. We will try to keep a little bit of a time limit on our responses, just to keep the conversation distributed. So we got a lot of feedback, and we're just trying to adjust this as we go. But we still want to encourage anybody. You can be critical. You don't have to be a fan of Handshake. We do want to welcome arguments or discussions on both sides. We don't want to just hear an echo chamber. So if you do have critical feedback or questions, I welcome that, and I try to hear every perspective. So I'm also going to click invite to co-host. I hope I don't break something, but accept invite to co-host. Because Anne is amazing on our team. She's the one on the SkyInclude account. Hopefully this doesn't interrupt anything. Okay, so I think I got that. This is recorded too. So just so you know, and you can listen back to this. A lot of people listen to the recording. We posted on YouTube. We posted on our Handshake.mastermind, Terra Spaces. Shout out to Terra Spaces here. And their team is doing amazing. They're also recording this and archiving this on Terra Spaces. Definitely donate and support him and their team. They're doing a lot of great work documenting all these Twitter Spaces and all this content being made in various crypto and blockchain space, as well as this Handshake Mastermind Twitter space. So thank you, Terra Spaces. Really, we're also discussing ways to support you long term on your content creation. So thank you for that. So let's look at some of the things I have on my list to talk about. Ethereum bridging. I know there's been discussions and critical feelings about why are we all building so much on Ethereum. But I do want to talk about some other chains I've been speaking to. I've been talking very closely to Americoin. I'd love to share about what I've discussed with their team. They are the TLD of .coin on their blockchain, and I know a lot of you heard the news about Unstoppable stopping their .coin due to that conflict. So I've been talking to Oleg there. I'd love to give some updates of what I've been discussing with him, and also trying to bridge more with Handshake. And Cosmos, there's a Stargaze bridge being made through that chain, and I don't want to get myself in too much trouble talking about stuff that's not fully confirmed, but I do want to give you some insights on those points. Um, we invited Dot Records owner. He can't make it. Maybe I see some other pretty cool TLD people here. Maybe we can also have people share about what they're doing on their TLD marketing. So those are some of the points that I have. And of course, people can raise their hand and come up on stage. Um, I think I could first start with the Ethereum bridging, and of course, Impervious is doing quite a bit of work, and of course, Mike Carson's one of the co-founders there, and he normally is on this space with me here. So of course, I'm biased to what they're doing, but I'm proud to see that they're working hard. Anybody can build what Impervious is making. You don't have to only work with Impervious. Of course, I would hope people do. They get about 20% cut of. There's an upfront fee to stake with them, and they take a 20% commission of it. I do believe there's other solutions coming on Ethereum for Handshake TLD owners. So, but they're definitely the first. As far as I know, they've got the experience doing Dot Forever and the Dot Badass, which I've covered and supported. So there's I know there's some people on Twitter kind of saying, why is Handshake so focused on Ethereum? So I want to address that, and I'd love to invite anybody who wants to come up on stage. But that's kind of I see Derek here too. Derek is doing great things with Loomweb and bridging to other blockchains that I'm not even as familiar with. So that's just the beauty. That's one of my favorite things about Handshake is always the cross compatibility of different blockchains. That's one of the things that's always attracted me personally since the beginning of my research. But yeah, of course, Ethereum is the second biggest market cap crypto in existence. And they also do make it pretty easy, as we've learned, unstoppable domains in the panel. I've watched that panel at least 4 or 5 times now from NamesCon in Austin. I've watched this at least 4 times now, the recording on YouTube. But what Unstoppable has said is it's so easy to build and integrate on Ethereum, right? A lot of things are built on Ethereum. Of course, Metamask is one of the most popular wallets. That's an Ethereum wallet. There's obviously, OpenSea is mostly Ethereum. I think there's Polygon, and I'm gonna just put a disclaimer. I'm not an Ethereum expert. I'm, but they're one of the more popular blockchains for building NFTs and doing DeFi. So it makes sense that there's a lot of people in the Handshake community using Ethereum solutions, and through Impervious, or if of course anybody can build their own bridge to Ethereum in their own smart contract. So, I mean, that's kind of my quick answer. But what I tell people when I reply on those threads on Twitter is, I think you should think about your TLD. Each TLD I see in Circa here, it's great to see you. I believe it's Tom. Thanks. Try to. I've learned from him from the panels at HandyCon when he spoke. We had some panels. I'd recommend TLD owners to watch those older ones, but they're still very valuable. Each TLD is its own community, its own ecosystem, right? So you should think about your TLD and where does it belong as a community? Does your community live on Ethereum? Does your community maybe want more traditional Web 2 type solutions such as Circa, Porkbun, Namecheap? As I mentioned, I believe Cosmos will be coming soon. Angry Mouse, I think he said it publicly, but I've had private discussions with him in Telegram. He's working very hard to really bridge the Cosmos ecosystem, which is Atom and their Stargaze or Stars and Cosmosis. Chingo's a big fan of both the Cosmos ecosystem as well as the Handshake ecosystem. So I think there's a lot of people in Handshake that are also aware of Cosmos, but I'm being told by Angry Mouse that there will be a way to bridge your TLD of Handshake into Cosmos using the Stargaze blockchain. So that's something that maybe you think your TLD is more of a Cosmos ecosystem system, and you could bridge your TLD there. So a lot of people are moving theirs to Ethereum. We have .omen on Impervious, and I've been excited to see what they're developing. That you can sell your TLD now staked with the SLDs, moving to the root, so you can buy and sell Handshake TLDs in Ethereum in OpenSea now with stake names, and the future royalties or income will go to you as the new owner. So that's really powerful. So my third bridge I want to talk about is Americoin, which is, I've gone down that rabbit hole. Okay, I think more than maybe most. So I'll just share some of my updates. I haven't made a new YouTube video about it yet. Honestly, I'm even going to maybe invite Oleg. He's kind of their main CTO and developer at the Americoin. And again, I'm not seeing any hands raised, so we welcome anyone here. And we tried, of course, we all have our bags and our biases, but I really want to hear other perspectives. But if I'll just keep going while I wait for questions. Again, it seems like Mike Carson can't make it. I don't see him here because of the hurricane in Florida. So if you were coming in later, he might not be able to make it. So Americoin, I think I'm going to give an update here, and maybe I'll make a more update on the YouTube. But I think a lot of people saw the .coins drama with Unstoppable not continuing to support their .coin. And I reached out to Americoin. Actually, what the beauty of this community, or any community, is the people, right? So he's anonymous. There's a lot of anonymous people in the community and in crypto. So he doesn't want to reveal his himself, but he sends me a message of his email correspondence with the Americoin team, specifically Oleg there. And he tells me, hey, I emailed them saying, hey, why don't you cooperate with Handshake? We're open protocol. We can integrate with you. And Oleg responded, and then I got in touch with Oleg from that email. So I actually registered on Americoin, a few coins myself. I haven't made a tutorial yet, but I downloaded their wallet. So just to be clear, they're their own blockchain. It's EMC ticker. They're on, CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap. They're a very small coin, smaller than Handshake, much smaller than Ethereum. But they started, I think, in 2014 or 15, so they've been around quite a long time. Actually, they have 4 TLDs. They have .coin or issued .coin, .bazaar, .emc, and I'm blanking on the fourth one, but it's not just coin. And they sell them. So the fees are less than pennies. So I've registered Handshake.coin and I've registered Namebase.coin for 10 years. And I spent less than a penny in US dollars to do that. Actually, he was very helpful. I did a Telegram video call with Oleg, and he even helped answer some of my questions and helped me update my records. But basically, he's open to doing a bridge with Handshake and allowing other TLD owners in Handshake to bridge to their blockchain. But again, just like what happens with Ethereum, if you bridged, you would then need to, issue SLDs on EMC blockchain and use their system, right? But he's trying to say, oh, Vitalik and their VCs and all their money and their success, we've been here as long as them or longer than them. I'm not sure who started first. It seems like he's a little bit like they haven't done good with the marketing and the traction, but they do have a DNS update system. And he's open to us as TLD owners and Handshake to bridge to their blockchain. And he says it's much cheaper than the gas fees. A lot of blockchains, as we know, they compare themselves to Ethereum. And one of the main selling points is their gas fees or, transaction fees are much lower. And as I mentioned, the gas fee was less than a penny to register these coins that I've registered and even hosted it. So he even linked handshake.coin on sites.io. Americoin.com. You can see it there. Again, just like Handshake domains and most Web3 domains, they don't resolve natively in Chrome or major browsers. But if you go to sites.americoin.com, you'll see he links to various websites hosted on Americoin. So I've been talking to like Matt Zipkin and others to ask their technical help of how to further develop this bridge to Americoin. But most of these developers I talk to say it's definitely possible and we could do that. But it's again, the reason people pick Ethereum is they're the second biggest blockchain in the world, and they have lots of integrations and support. So if you brought your TLD into Americoin, you would be on that ecosystem and the EMC ticker. I actually bought EMC coin, and it was not easy. You complain about buying Handshake coin, EMC coin is I think even harder to get. So that's the thing we all need to think about as TLD owners of Handshake. So I'm being advised to not dig too deep down this rabbit hole of Americoin bridging, due to the fact that if you sold SLDs there, they would be decentralized. But unless you wanted to do something where you bought them as a TLD owner, one hack that I think Zipkin, or I don't want to quote somebody, but somebody says you could pre-register all of them or all the major ones, and then you could have them decentralized on Americoin, and then you could then have the EMC token as a TLD owner, and then you could sell them maybe for dollars or even Ethereum or other crypto, and then manually transfer them to different decentralized Americoin wallets. It takes about 1 gigabyte on your laptop to sync Americoin wallet. I still keep it on my laptop. So again, it's another blockchain, just like Bob Wallet. I don't have a full node of Ethereum, but I run, of course, Metamask through a RPC client, right? As we all know. So that's kind of the update of the 3 different bridges. Derek is here. I don't know. I hope people are not shy about my time limit comment. It's just feedback from the community, but we welcome people to raise their hand and share. I think Derek is at Loomweb has other blockchains. Again, I'm not as familiar with, but he's told me about other chains he's integrating with and bridging. So again, this is, I think, one of the main differentiators of Handshake versus other Web3 naming protocols. The majority are built natively in Ethereum, right? Most are. But Handshake, some people think it's a weakness, is its own chain, which allows you to use purely the root zone, and then you as a TLD owner and director of Handshake can then choose whichever way you want to issue subdomains, right? So that's my point of bridges. And I used to get more people raising their hands. Maybe we're all kind of shocked with the crypto crash today, But those are my points on the bridges. I really am excited about the Cosmos one. I'm also a fan of Cosmos, and I do believe the Atom token is their major mother token of the Cosmos ecosystem. But I do see a lot of potential. And what's my favorite thing about Cosmos is they're actually the founder of the Stargaze is also a supporter of Handshake. I've Shane.stars, and I've had a call with him about a year ago, one-on-one call with him, and I haven't spoken to him about this lately, but when they have their own Stargaze naming system, and the Stargaze is using .stars. So of course, a lot of us in the Handshake community were commenting on that tweet about what about Handshake, etc., etc., and they are open to bridging the TLDs into Cosmos. And you're probably wondering, what about .stars? I don't want to say too much on the record, but the owner of Stars, you might be able to figure out who they are. They're not so hiding it. And it looks like, I don't know if it's been confirmed and completed, but it does look like the Stargaze ecosystem is getting to take over the dot stars on Handshake. Because that's what I think a lot of us should all do as Handshake directors. We've had these talks. Even Andrew Rosner has talked about it. We don't want to be squatters. We don't want to try to just get as much money out of selling a domain. Of course, there's certain cases, but when we're trying to get integrations and we're trying to get relationships with blockchains, we shouldn't try to stick it to the man and squeeze as much out of it as we can. But the Stargaze ecosystem is willing to pay for it. They're not asking for it for free. And it looks like, again, it's not been, I don't know if it might have already been confirmed or not, but I heard about a price and I heard about an agreement on both sides. So I'm really hoping that the dot stars does make it over to the Stargaze team so that there won't be any collisions of dot stars that's going to be issued on the stars ecosystem of Cosmos with the with the Handshake TLD of dot stars. So I believe it's going to be moving over successfully. Okay. Still no people coming up. And I'll keep going. And then the .coin saga. So I'm kind of jumping around. I should have covered that in the Americoin. But, I'm trying my best as just a director, right? Oh, there's a request. Great. More requests. Great. I love it. I don't want to be the only one talking here. Okay, I'm adding Derek and Paul. Okay. So two just came up. Maybe we see who wants to speak first.
Can you hear me?
Derek, you want to start?
Yeah, sorry, I
And
haven't.
if you don't mind, try to. I
I
guess I
have.
could just help interrupt, but try to keep it on point for
Yeah,
not just for you, but
Yeah,
for everyone.
shit. Sorry, I haven't spoken up because I haven't been able to tell what's wrong with the connection. My desktop works, but my mobile's been lagging in and out for the base since this space has started. So I wasn't sure what was going on.
I I hear you clearly.
Yeah, I
So
couldn't tell. I couldn't tell where it was cutting off at. I guess I'll clarify one. Loom's bridging basically works based on hip 5, and for anyone who's not aware, it's heavily based. Loom's what I'm working on is heavily based on hypercore technology for peer to peer. So pretty much all bridging, as you call it, is really just using hip 5 to routing to a bunch of different networks in the future, and that's heavily in development. I hope to have something software releases around by the end of Q1 2023, but we'll see. But two things I did want to bring up that I have been kind of vocal in the community about, but I figured it might be helpful to bring up in here. One is that I started not too long ago, well, at least tried on to solve the centralization of hash rate for the blockchain with P2P pool. I have some of it done, but I still am meeting any protocol developers or anyone that's willing to help out to give maybe up to an hour of time to help to get through some things that I don't have some background in. So I'm not spending 6 hours trying to figure some of the stuff out. I've already done some of it, but I basically I'm trying to help get P2P pool ported to Handshake so all the miners can actually get that set up, and we can have that two pool and deal with the blockchain security issue that everybody's been having. It's kind of been talked about. I have a starting point on that, but it's been put on. I put it on the side, but yeah, I basically need our help on that. For anybody who's interested in helping, reach out.
maybe I don't know how it might be a little bit complex, but maybe if you have it written out, I could help share it, or you can make a tweet or a
Yeah,
post, or I could help make a post, and then we
yeah.
could. I mean, I'm willing, but unfortunately, I don't. I wish I was a developer. I hope my son becomes a developer.
I
But
know. I'm sticking it here so I get a bit more exposure because I felt this is probably the best place to say it. I don't know, but yeah, I have some pieces started, but I need I need others' input to be able to get to be able to continue on it without me having to spend a lot of extra time trying to learn the low levels.
Sure.
But yeah.
Okay, thanks, Derek. Yeah, that's great. So people see you talking here, and it's Derek. If for those listening, they might not see it, but if it's on the YouTube, we put it on the YouTube later. But yeah, Derek Hammer. Maybe you can just shout out a way to contact you or your Twitter name or something for that.
The Twitter name is PCFREAK 30 for anyone who's not watching the screen. Yeah, and my DMs are open. And I can
Okay,
redirect
great.
you from where to any other chat if we
So
need to. The other
so
thing I
do you
wanted
mind I just reiterate this or summarize what just to
go
help
ahead.
put it in my more simple terms?
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it today. It's obviously not our favorite thing to bring up, but as people may know, F2 pool you mentioned is kind of the taken over at, as the critical has a majority of the hash rate, which is of course a flag. So you have some solution for maybe using P2P pool so that there could be more decentralization
Well, we're trying to port
in the
that over,
Handshake blockchain.
wanting to get people working on Handshake and needing help getting the software ported.
Okay, great. So that's the point one. So point two, I'd love to hear.
The other thing is, I've made as I don't know if anyone's doing this in the back office, so to speak, but I haven't heard, but no one has said anything to me about this. Like almost like a couple of weeks ago, I think. I and I can see it, and I can see even more need for it now. Is that I opened up a grant request on the DWeb Foundation's GitHub for DEX. I'm just pointing out the fact that we need one. And frankly, Thorchain is pretty much, my opinion, is the best point. And everyone's complaining about liquidity. Frankly, we need Thorchain. Like it's the only option I personally see to be done that we need to get that solved. And I've been making a lot of noise in
Okay.
Discord, but yeah, I'm not sure who needs to be
Okay.
looking at that,
I mean, yeah,
yeah, but
DWeb
yeah.
Foundation. I don't know. Again, there's stuff like I don't. I haven't got some people call me a big mouse, but I want to share certain things. Maybe a lot of the money is kind of in limbo because of the Opera browser integration. So we did a lot of fundraising for Opera browser, which was 150,000 US dollars, and we're not. Opera wants that money, and we don't want to give it to them based on
Yeah, I can. Yeah,
what we believe.
frankly, my opinion is frankly, my opinion is Opera's kind of doing a bit of a crappy job from what I've heard. I frankly don't think what I'm being hearing is I don't think that's worth. That might be worth a couple like 10, 20, 30 grand maybe if they really needed it. But $150,000 for what they're doing seems like a yeah. I think I'm trying to feel like it's a ripoff. Frankly.
Yeah, so there
I
was
personally
recent
think I'm doing it more
correspondence.
better. Huh?
There was recent correspondence with Opera and the DWeb Foundation about the invoice, and I think Handshake. I mean, of course, DWeb Foundation is not Handshake, as we know. It's not just, but it's a foundation that's supporting Handshake. But yeah, I mean, I also yeah, I think most people don't feel Opera should be paid for the integration of where it is now. So I think maybe what I'm saying is there might be this delay because we work really hard. We did auctions to raise money. People made donations. I think Namesheet put in a chunk, and
My
we got
yeah,
this amount.
my opinion. If you can get through that, frankly, I honestly will put that take that money and put it someone put that money in maybe to be pool. I know HNS Institute had some sort of a bounty for 2K already for the pool software for the pool, which probably could apply to B2B pool. But in my opinion, really that some of that money probably should be applied to get to work with Thorchain and then kickstart the liquidity issues. Like
Okay,
yeah,
so
that just sounds like that just sounds the most I think the honest play that can be done. But do please check the DWeb GitHub if you haven't, so you can see what I posted because it's been sitting there for a couple of weeks, I think.
okay, um, I will check. I appreciate it. Maybe I don't. There's also ways to pin these tweets on this chat. I did that last month, but if you have the tweet, maybe I don't know if you can pin it or I can pin it. But
I never tweeted. I just posted because I assumed that Shango and other people in the foundation were reading the GitHub. So
I think they are. I'm not saying they're not. I just said I think there's been a lot of preoccupation about this pending invoice that's being chased by Opera, and I think a lot of the funds are kind of, I think that's one issue that is maybe the reason for this delay in response to you, is my feeling.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's being ignored. I just think that that might be one of the reasons.
Yeah,
But I will help too. But yeah, I mean, it would be great if.
I just replied to one of your messages on tweet, so you should be able to pick that up.
Okay, great, thank you. I will look for that. So, but yeah, I mean, you would be able to make this DEX on Thorchain for HNS then?
Well,
Just to be.
not me. I obviously, that I'm I just got funded by a Sci Foundation. Heck, I just got a salary payment today, so
Yeah, congrats.
I kind of it's like I obviously have definitely have obligation now. So, but as an end user, I'm trying. There's two things I really want, and I'm trying to push. Is I want to see a DEX for SIA and a DEX for Handshake, and I know both of them can go on Thorchain. And I'm waiting until after Sia V2 hard fork before I start pushing the foundation to focus to put that priority but for Handshake, there's no foundation, so who do you talk to? Understand?
Yeah. Yep, I understand. I mean, as far as the foundation, again, I know everyone likes, there's efficiency and centralized, leadership, but I mean, there is this foundation, but we shouldn't just say them as the only one. I mean, even HNS Fund, I think, has some, but yeah, I will try to help bridge that.
Well, I mean, what I was referring to foundation, I was referring to the Sci Foundation.
Excuse me.
Yeah, Sci Foundation is one that's funding me, and I'm going to be pushing them to try to deal with the DEX eventually when it's time. But HNS, it's like there's only 2-3 entities, maybe they're fairly big in the community that I can't even know to talk to. So yeah,
I can try to help. I mean, I think Chango is doing a lot. She's also going to be speaking on a ICANN related event online. Let me see if I can find it in my tweets to pin. But she's also very, very busy. She's very active in Cosmos ecosystem too. So.
I can imagine, the fact that I'm going to be busy for having my head down for at least a couple months now. I can understand that, but overall for me, it's just I am trying to make sure people are seeing this because I have to do retarded things to get HNS, and I see all the problems, I see the solutions. And I'm trying to raise the alarm so people actually spend time on figuring it out.
These are both two great. Yeah, so thanks for coming. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the purposes of this Twitter space is to help get more exposure on initiatives. So both of these are very relevant and helpful. And yes, they both solve issues that we need to solve. So one is being this F2 pool is the majority of the mining is one, which is great. You have a solution, and two is a DEX using Thorchain for HNS coin.
I'm working on multi-chain, as you call it, SLDs. I'm doing a lot of stuff on the web accessibility thing for Handshake, which will my personal opinion will explode Handshake when things are ready. But but the other two things I don't have the time for.
That's fine. Even if you could guide us, that's very helpful.
Well, I mean, I have the time a little bit that I can spend on the P2P pool aspect. I can do a small amount, but the Thorchain, that one is a whole project on its own. So
yeah, I'm sure. I mean, that's why I was like, wow, that's huge. So okay, I'm just gonna start pinning stuff on here. I'm going through my tweets trying to find stuff, but okay, Derek, thank you. Thank you for
Yep.
sharing, and it was very concise too, so I appreciate you making it clear. I know it's complex stuff. E.Link, I see, he's on stage. Do you have something you'd like to bring up and discuss?
Hey, what's going on, Michelini? Hope
Hey,
all's good.
great.
It's been a brutal day in crypto. I agree, but whatever you're doing over the past hour, continue doing. We're back up 5%. Um, no, but
Okay, great. There we
yeah,
go.
yeah. I had a couple of questions. Like been been providing a link to most people to resolve via gateway, which is HNS.2. But I've noticed recently I'm getting a MetaMask phishing attack on there when I visit H. Is that are you guys receiving the same thing, or is that something I need to take a look at internally?
Yeah, unfortunately, I've seen the same on most of them. You know, both HNS.2 and HNS.is are, they're not meant to be long-term stable solutions. Even ETH.limo, all of these kind of bridges from Web 2 to Web 3 are not really meant to be a stable long-term solution regardless. But yeah, I don't know. It was like a recent update. So when I also look at HNS.2 stuff, it gives me that warning when I have MetaMask, which is very frustrating. But I think I remember, even a year ago, there was some issues with HNS.2 for people using it. Unfortunately, for like what they warn you, there are people that use it to do phishing. Not you or me, hopefully, but unfortunately, there are bad people that use these systems for what I would say not the right way.
What I can tell you myself is I've already had to make Web3 portal with Loom members only because to be frank, my host told me that if I didn't cut the bullshit out, they would cut me by the end of November. And so, and you know what it was? It was Microsoft phishing login pages that I was getting over 50 reports in a month. So the reality is a lot of these
Yeah,
bridges are just going to be temporary because the nature of them is that the unfortunate nature of the web is that if you allow anything, it's going to get abused, and then you're going to get your ass shut down because how the current ISPs and the internet structure works. They don't care about the URLs; they just care about the domain, and so they're just lazy and just mark the whole damn thing as malicious and say goodbye. I have somebody on an abuse report. It keeps telling it's trying to get my domain terminated by telling me to disable the DNS off my domain because they're butthurt. Like there's just a lot of shit that isn't right that we have to deal with when we're doing these type of weird stuff. So it is what it is.
yep. Chatting to some people privately, so. But even with HNS.is, Paul, I mean, I hope it's okay name, but they all are. I think HNS.is by Angry Mouse and that team, and they also got turned off by Namecheap. I think they registrar as Namecheap, and Namecheap took him off. And I think he got maybe Namecheap's CEO to re-enable him. I remember seeing some tweet thread like, I don't know, 6 months ago or something. But all of these, yeah, unfortunately, I like Derek's idea, just to reiterate, make it a private, but these are all open, right? So anybody can, register a Handshake TLD and then make a website. So they could make, like Derek said, maybe they make a real phishing site, like, Microsoft login.hns.2, and they get a Handshake TLD Microsoft login, and then they email people and they look like Microsoft. So maybe that's why. But yeah, I've noticed this with both HNS.2 and HNS.is, and I think ETH.limo, even on Ethereum names, has had similar issues. So I guess, and also, of course, we know Namebase is going through some transitions, So HNS.2, I think, is maintained by Namebase. So I think they're also pretty overloaded, as you may know, with a lot of the technology system updates. So it's probably also not maybe the top priority, because there's a lot they have to do. So I hope somebody says my voice is cutting in and out. I hope not. But
No, it seems pretty good. It seems pretty good to me. Thanks, Mike. So you're
okay.
using so currently the two options right now are you either have them change the router settings, hdns.io, or they download a beacon browser.
Yeah, I think the preferred one is Beacon. I mean, the easier one is Beacon browser, right? But yeah, I mean, there's Fingertip. Both are by Impervious, but Fingertip, or of course, there's. I'm not sure about Handshake. I mean, Namebase made the HNS HDNS.io. I remember that like a year ago. I'm not sure if that's still supported. You change it to IP addresses. I mean, I think this easier one is tell people to download Beacon browser, especially with our issues with Opera integrations. I think just having people use a browser that natively works with. I mean, that's what I personally use is Beacon browser to navigate Handshake sites now. I have it on my. I know there's no Android. I know some people are trying to really get an Android app for Beacon. Beacon right now is only on desktop and iOS, but yeah, basically I usually tell people to use a Beacon
Yeah, I
browser
would just use
personally.
Beacon or Fingertip for now. Loom will be definitely a bigger option in the future, but right now those are pretty much the two simple go-to options for handshake stuff. The rest of it's just going to be temporary, quick links, and it's going to either going to work or it's not, and you can't really rely on it.
Okay, great. I also invited up on stage somebody. Again, I'm not invite. I mean, of course I could invite, but you can. Everybody should be able to see a request to speak button in their interface. If you're on West, but you have to be on mobile. So somebody's direct messaged me to come on stage. You're welcome to just request, but you need to have mobile. It doesn't work on desktop. If you're listening on desktop, I don't think you can be a speaker due to the
I think a lot of
technology.
people learn that the hard way, and no one, and I don't really think there's a good reason for it. Frankly, I hope Elon fixes that because I find that really dumb.
Yeah, even me. I don't want to. I'm on my phone right now. I'd rather be on my computer. I have like a microphone there I could connect and stuff. But yeah, for right now, you have to use mobile to speak. So anyone listening that's having trouble, might be a reason why. Because I'm getting some DMs. Okay. So I see some new people here. Again, this is an open. We try to make this an open platform for people to share about Handshake or any kind of decentralized naming system solution. We also welcome alternative name people to share. I try to stay unbiased. Of course, I have to say I'm mostly in on Handshake, but I also have names on other solutions. And I try to study as many new ones as I can, although there are quite a few new ones coming. So let's see. I'll look through my dot records. Dot Records is doing great. I think it's making records still as like a top SLD or domain in the Impervious registrar. So fortunately, Zach from the Shake, he's the founder of that. Couldn't make it to this Twitter space to share, but he did a Twitter space recently. I think he's really doubling down, which I think is great. Just he's doubling down on the music industry. He's not just talking to Handshake or Web3 domain people like most of us here. He's talking to people in the music space. He's doing a Twitter. I think he did a Twitter space. I haven't had a chance to check it out, but he's targeting his industry, right? I think that's maybe the main points of my update about Dot Records is he's targeting his community of musicians or on-chain or off-chain musicians and trying to reserve their names, right? He reached out to them. Honestly, I'm also doing marketing. I'm helping a Kickstarter campaign right now in my kind of traditional work, and it's called pre-launch. He did a really great pre-launch. He or their team or the Dot Records team, got the contacts or, probably found them on their websites or their Twitter or whatever. You basically build up a list. This is for any kind of marketing, right? You build up a list of people in the space. You prepare them in advance before you launch. You explain to them, you educate them, you get them ready for the launch. And then you launch, and then hopefully when you launch, you get a lot of buzz because those people are ready, whether you give it to them for free or you sell it to them or you give them a coupon or a discount, right? Then they all register. It all happens on that same like 24 hours or 2 days. And then more people say, oh, what's this .records or what's this new TLD coming out, right? I saw pretty good exposure on that. I saw people in the of course the leader ENS domains. I saw a lot of those community talking about the .records name, whereas a lot of them don't notice Handshake or other Web3 naming protocols. I saw a lot of exposure for the .records, which also of course passes into a bit of our Handshake ecosystem. So I think the main lesson, I think us as TLD owners that are issuing SLDs is focusing on your community that you're targeting. Again, back to Encirca, which, is welcome to come up on stage here. Tom, is who are you targeting and making a good marketing strategy for those people. Not if you sell to everybody, you sell to nobody, right? So I got to get off my butt and launch more TLDs, but it is work. That's why I think when people start to sell SLDs, they start to realize how much work it is, and they start to focus on a group of TLDs rather than a lot of TLDs, because each TLD is a business. And if you compare it to Web 2 or traditional domains with ICANN TLDs, not many of them have more than one or a few, because it's a lot of work to build up and market a domain extension. I saw somebody talk to Michael Seiger on Twitter. I think it was .universe, and I think he asked, like, what do you think about Handshake? Is it gonna make it? Is it gonna do well? But Michael Seiger, he didn't reply about Handshake. His reply, it was within the last 2 days. His reply was, he talked about the domain extension itself. He didn't talk about Handshake as a naming protocol. He says domain name extensions succeed or not based on the traction those names, TLDs or domain extensions, get, right? Like, because he's been around for a long time, longer. I'm not an experienced domain person. He's been in this since before Handshake or Web3 domains. So even ICANN TLDs succeed or fail based on how they market their domain extension. So I think we got to keep that in mind. Of course, we're part of the Handshake ecosystem or the Web3 naming at large, but looking at what .records has done is something we should all learn from as TLD owners and Handshake. Is you got to do your pre-launch, build up your list, educate them, have tutorials, get a reserved name list. I know Encirca always suggests that, and respect people's copyrights, and then I think that's a way to have a successful launch for your TLD. And each one, that's why I know a lot of us have many TLDs, myself included, but each one is a business itself, is a lot of work. So .records, really shout out. Hopefully we can get them on a Twitter space or YouTube or HandyCon. We're going to do HandyCon in March. I'd love to talk about that too. But that's my kind of update on .records that I have, unless somebody wants to add to that or make some points. You're welcome to request to be speaker here, but that's my update on .records. They've done a really great job. Of course, there was some development made. They had a really nice front-end interface on records.domains in Web 2. You can go look, and they made a really nice interface that you can do a search for a name. It redirects to Impervious, but it has that search result on their subpage, which is great. And they have the reserved name list there, and they're educating. It's a lot of education. So educating the market is a lot of time and money. So that's my point on .records. I see some great people in the audience. They're welcome to come up. If not, we could.
Hey, Mitchell,
Derek, you have something?
Something
Yeah,
I
please.
thought I thought I'd share that is a bit funny. Do you remember that domain that I linked to you in Telegram that was on auction?
Yeah, I do remember that. I don't know if I want to expose the name, but yeah, it was a funny one. I remember.
I will close it because I don't really care so much. I just find it funny. Because it was the same, because it was on the same place I secured Web3.news. Apparently, my gut reaction was right. Freename.io basically spent $6,000 to secure freename.com and redirect it. So VC money came in, bought and tried to secure their own name to redirect it. I just thought that was something. I just thought that'd be something interesting to share. So yeah, what my gut
Thanks.
reaction. So my gut reaction when I shared that to you pretty much was on point. The VC chased after the name chased after their name to secure.com.
Got it. I guess you said it at the end, but at the beginning, but just for those who didn't get that. So yeah, Derek saw freename.com expiring on the expired list. But it seems like the team, or you say VC, or it looks like somebody got it and redirected freename.com, which just to
Well,
finish the auction to the .io.
their primary name is freename.io. So, but the .com was on a drop catch, and so it went into auction for $6,000 on bidding.
Yep, interesting. And now it redirects to the .io.
Yeah,
So
that's the VC. So, I was watching it. It was like it went from a couple $100 to like $6,000. So that tells me a VC was going hard to try and secure the asset.
yeah, no, I'd agree. I mean, but just generally, of course, still .com is always the best to get. But it is interesting. That's definitely interesting update though that they got it for 6,000. Okay. I guess one update. Again, I don't want to like attack other naming protocols, but there is this Web3 name alliance. I don't know if somebody wants to share, but of course I've been just watching it from afar.
Yeah.
I
Oh
think
yeah.
others.
I think I'm the one that updated you on that one.
Okay, do you want to share, Derek?
Yeah, let's just say that from what I know, I got the share to one of my own partners who updated me, and that's how I actually shared it to you. Basically, it seems to be Unstoppable Domains are trying to make a PR move again with a bunch of different blockchains to basically try to be their own ICANN for Web3 via Web2 means, and I find it kind of funny because I want to. Because it's like I would like to see how they're going to try to what how they're trying to do this. Like, are they going to sue everybody into the ground that run that as an asset on Handshake? Like, I don't really see how they're going to do this. But I find it funny that they're really trying to play the PR card of like, don't worry, we're trying to help the community. Oh, but frankly, if anything's ran by fucking unstoppable domains, I'm not going to bet on much on. I'm not going to bet it's going to be anything good.
Yeah. I see Mig's machine just came up. I can also try to give my like neutral story of that one. But Migs, do you have something to share?
I was going to go in a whole other direction. By the way, thanks for letting me speak.
Maybe then I just wrap up this one. I don't want to spend too much time on this one. So maybe I'll just give just so people understand. So this Web3 Alliance, it seems like it was announced during the Web Summit event in Europe recently, and it's a group. I believe Tezos Domains, although I feel like there's some pushback from their community. There's about 4 or 5 different blockchain naming solutions that kind of join forces, looks like led by Unstoppable, to try to, like Derek says, they're not saying it, but it's looking like somewhat like an organization like ICANN or some kind of group that would stop naming collisions in the TLD level on the Web3 blockchain space. But it's a single page website, and there's like a PR article that came out like a week ago. But we're watching it closely. Of course, Handshake. Maybe somebody here could apply. I don't know what the application procedure is, but I haven't seen anybody related to Handshake involved in that. Although maybe somebody could apply or contact. But anyway, that's the update. I don't want to spend so much time on it. Okay, Migs, I'd love to hear your new direction. It's great.
Well, yeah, earlier you were talking about the way that records kind of deployed and made a buzz, which I think is awesome, right? Like, I think the people in this what is this? Spaces. The people in this space understand the value of Handshake and how it's going to be resilient to a lot of things that are going to come and go. What I feel like part of the complete solution here is like if somebody registers an ENS name, then it's automatically a wallet, right? It's not so simple with the Handshake name. So who's doing the best job of providing SLDs with as much utility stacked on top as possible? And that's an honest question. I haven't been diving in. So like something like an SLD that is by default has a UI with a D-link, by default has a UI as a wallet address. Like, is there anybody trying to do that? Because I think that's the problem. It's very hard to conceptualize Handshake and explain it to somebody. But if you can say, hey, it's your link tree, it's your wallet, it's your identity, like, oh, by the way, you can do all these other things with it, it helps. And I think Namebase wasn't going in the right direction originally with that, but they stopped dead in their tracks.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Namebase was doing that
I
with
think
their
I
group.
think that's actually a bit confusing. I'm not sure all what you mean, but something I heard what you said with that is that using your domain as your address, the fundamental problem with that design, I think from technical perspective, if I understood correctly, it's the fact that Ethereum and all EVMs are account based and Handshake is UTXO based. Because technically, all domains being NFTs are assigned to an address, but the nature of Handshake being like Bitcoin means that one account means everything is scattered across different addresses. They're not all on one single address. So to figure it out, you have to do some weird lookups, and that just kind of complicates on the engineering aspect for you just to be able to say send it here and you can use it as a wallet. Plus the nature of HNS means that people don't really use it as much for DeFi as they just use it for the assets itself.
Yeah, I think I've tried to talk about this in some YouTube channel on SkyInclude about integrations, and Derek also did a long, extensive discussion about it too that people should maybe check out. But the quick answer, I think, is based on, there's two different uses of names. One is like actually a normal domain on DNS, which is what I think Handshake mostly is focused on. And the second, of course, is Web3 names are as wallets and user IDs. I think it's two different, putting my startup weekend, I was a startup weekend facilitator for a while. As a startup, that's two different directions. But I think as far as using it as a wallet address, it's not Handshake integration with Metamask, it's impervious domains integration with Metamask. And we have to stop. I think the Handshake integrations is more for browser integrations as domains, but wallet integrations is more on a smart contract, which is in a certain blockchain. Like I don't think Unstoppable or all these other Ethereum naming solutions could integrate on Cosmos or Tezos, right? So not every single TLD and Handshake could also be a wallet address for Cosmos or Tezos or Americoin. So I think a lot of people are just defaulting blockchain as Ethereum. As I go down this rabbit hole, I just feel like everybody's just defaulting wallet address as Ethereum address or Ethereum contract.
It's the same thing as Web3 equals ETH. It's the exact same mental problem that I'm trying to solve in for Loom is like everyone automatically considers, okay, is Web3 okay, is DeFi, is ETH. Like it's the same exact issue. But then you also need to consider, okay, when you say Handshake, are you talking about Handshake TLD to a wallet address? Like I own PC330 as a Handshake name, or you're talking about an SLD is dedicated to as an ID, which is it? Because if you're trying to make an ID out of your name out of the Handshake root, that is one thing, and you're sending it to a Handshake wallet address. If you're trying to do it for for like u.p330, well, then that's completely different. That's a completely different situation from a technical perspective. So you really need to separate which is are you trying to make an ID out of the root, or are you trying to make that an ID out of the SLD?
Yeah, so it also is like Kepler wallet. If you use Cosmos, I know there's a bunch of people. I think Migs also does. You don't use MetaMask. You use Kepler, or maybe there's some other ones. But I use Kepler wallet for Cosmos, and I use MetaMask for Ethereum. So they're doing the Stargaze naming system now, which has just been announced. I think there's whitelist happening, and our buddy in the community, Angry Mouse, seems like has positive news about the integration and bridging, but it won't be every single Handshake TLD. It will be the ones that use the HIP-5 of Handshake to bridge to Cosmos. And then if you bridge your TLD to Cosmos using HIP-5, and then you use a wallet address to Kepler. It wouldn't work if you like say .omen. I put .omen on Impervious, which is Ethereum. I can't move it to Cosmos now. I can't say pay me at Mike.omen on my Kepler. It's unless there's some kind of an Ethereum bridge now to Cosmos, but I don't know if I'm making more sense. But basically, wallet addresses is more about the blockchain and a smart contract. And for us as Handshake right now, our main solution for Ethereum is Impervious. So there was a thread on Metamask forum started by one of the TLD stakers on Impervious, blanking on his name. We've talked about this a couple of different times, but he tried, and there was a lot of people in Handshake commenting on that MetaMask thread to, hey, get integration, hey, get integration, hey, get integration. They closed it and they said, we're talking about internally. But if MetaMask supports impervious domains, it would be impervious TLDs and SLD, not TLD. Well, it would work for any Ethereum NFT domain of impervious. If you, Migs, or Derek, or whatever, made another bridge through HIP5 to Ethereum that was its own contract address, you then need to get wallet integration to OpenSea, MetaMask, whatever kind of integrations, Etherscan, whatever kind of integrations, you would then need to build those integrations with that smart contract. But it's not DNS integrations like it is in Brave browser or Opera browser. It's wallet integrations or app integrations or DApp integrations with that smart contract of that NFT domain. So again, I studied this deeply and I hope this makes more sense. But again, this is actually what I like. Again, I think it's a positive to Handshake because each TLD can be on various different protocols. But then you'd have to say, pay me at that. I'd have to get a name on those different protocols. But then I could also use it as a domain name in Opera browser if they integrated natively, or on Brave or Chrome or whatever. But it's really two different things. There's browser integration and there's wallet integration, and they're two separate things. One's like wallets are blockchains, the smart contracts. Browsers, well, even I'm learning. Maybe Derek can correct me. You can do it like what Unstoppable does to make it work on Brave is using IPFS pins. So that's kind of a way, and that's what ENS does too. But both of those are not built for DNS. They're not the other Web3 domain systems are not trying to be DNS. I even watched again. I watched that 3 or 4 times, that panel at the NamesCon. Unstoppable is not trying to do DNS integrations. They're not. Even the guy on that stage from Unstoppable says we're not trying to do DNS domains. They're trying to do wallet and Web3 domains, which are like IPFS pins, I guess. I don't really know enough about Web3
domains. What it
domains.
comes down to is simple. From even what you showed me, is that Unstoppable Domains is basically might as well use their own version of DNS of DNS over HTTP. I forgot what I think that's right. I have never used it, but basically they're using their own central API. And what it comes down to for anyone who gets confused on this, there's frankly for the view of Web3 DNS for Web3 domains, there's 2 different views. There's EPP, which is basically treating like ICANN with a normal domain DNS server, and you're using Namecheap, Portbun, and all that stuff like you've been doing for probably the past 10, 15, 20 years, or you're using newer setups with using Impervious. It's basically just using it's technically just RPC and trying to pull the information that way. So really DNS is really just an application of requesting information from a certain place and using that to load a website. So you really have EPP and then you have RPC. That's really what it comes down to for anyone that gets mixed up. And then they have the same thing of like, okay, instead of pulling the website address or the website hash or IPFS, you're pulling the wallet information. So it's like so really for Web3 it works the same way. It's the same data pipes, but it's what you're requesting is different. You're requesting the server IP, or you're requesting the Web3 content, you're requesting the wallet address or something else. That's what it really comes down to.
So, Megs, I hope that helps. Even I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. But the way I think about it, I guess you could do a website like Derek says, like, the Brave integration with UD seems to do some kind of IPFS pinning. And then when they pulled the plug on .coin, they just broke the pin of IPFS. And there was even developers in the UD saying, oh no, they were talking to Brendan at Brave on Twitter, I remember that. And they're like, no, you can still get it to work. You can make your own pin on IPFS. And then even Brendan says, well, you guys already pulled the rug. You didn't give them notice and time to do it themselves or teach them how to do it themselves. So something like this. I'm paraphrasing, but there was a thread of something like that when that .coin got stopped. But yeah, it's really two different things, and there's many different use cases. And again, you as a HNS TLD owner, your responsibility, if you accept it like Spider-Man or Peter Parker, you have responsibility to decide what's the best place to put your TLD. And is your TLD going to be used as a wallet more, as a user ID, or as a domain? And of course, it can do all of those, but I have this feeling that there's just going to be domains that are more used for wallets, and there's going to be domains more used as websites, in my opinion.
One other big thing everyone needs to keep in mind is that, and this is the big gravity, especially for me, because for Loom, I own assets like web app, DeFi app, and NFT app. So for me, this is a very, I consider a very big and important responsibility for Loom, is that you need to decide, are you putting your domain somewhere where it's going to be censorship resistant? And if so, are you going to be able to handle that? And or are you going to a market that does not care about censorship resistance, and you can just put it onto ICANN and put a name cheap and make it more easily accessible, but to where it could get taken down like any other domain? So the censorship resistance is a big thing why we're here with Web3. And I know not everybody in Handshake views that or has the same value for that. It's the same strength as I do. But that's a very big variable. Do you care about censorship resistance for your TLD or not? And that will tell you a big reason if you're going to do a normal traditional or if you're going to try Web3.
Yeah, I just want to say, though, I mean, I do think Namecheap cares a lot about decentralization. And it's really tricky because there's things I hear that I don't know. But I know one of their interests at large that Namecheap came into Handshake was their concern for censorship, and I believe their Twitter Namecheap CEO has said that. I think that's public knowledge, but I believe they said they don't like censorship. Of course, I know there's some conflict. Maybe some people have different arguments on that, but I believe Namecheap came to Handshake to make censorship-resistant domains, and I believe their current centralized solution is temporary, and I believe they're working on a decentralized solution for the TLDs.
The problem with the decentralized solution, and I probably AOS will know more. We're dealing with this, but from my understanding or assumption that I think I understand, is that they are still going to have it on chain, but it might be an on chain custody. And what it comes down to is if any exchange or registrar has custody of your SLD in any way, and they get a DMCA, they're going to have a legal obligation to take it down regardless of what our ethos are. But if you have it in your control, they can't do shit.
So I agree. I hope people are understanding.
The question is that is Namecheap's on-chain solution going to have the names under their custody for them managing the DNS, for them managing all the records, or is it going to be in the user's control to where they can't be called back or anything of that sort? Like, that's a big question, and now we'll define how censorship resistant is, because if Namecheap gets a takedown request for a Web3 domain on their registrar for SLD, what are they going to do? Understand?
I get it. I do get it. I mean, the same could be said for impervious domains. I don't know what would happen either. And we see what unstoppable domains can do.
Impervious domains can't do anything. That's the point of what I'm trying to do. Is that you tell them to go pound sand, because because if you send the domain to dev null, like to burn the address, like people do send that burn address, and then you have it minted forever, you can't do it. There's nothing that can be done. That's the point. You can't DMCA it. You can't take it down. There's nothing the government or any entity at all can do. It cannot be removed. That's the point. And that's the reason why, even with Namecheap, there's a possibility that their solution might have some sort of custody involved even on chain, like how you have custody for coins with Coinbase, and that will introduce censorship risk if that's the case. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what I probably would guess will be done for, at least for legal reasons, for liability. But yeah, we're coming fully on chain.
We have to watch. We have to watch
than
closely.
they can.
But yeah, I think it's our responsibility to try to understand deep the tech. I know there's a lot of I'm more on the marketing side, but I try my best to understand the tech and understand. But I mean, any point of failure, and when people say truly decentralized, it's a little bit. It's very difficult to have true decentralization, and there's usually going to be setbacks, either integration, there's usually some kind of a setback because integrations they want to have censorship. Normally, these bigger platforms either want or need to have censorship, for maybe they don't even want it, but they have to for their own stakeholders, investors, etc. So I see some dope man just came on stage. Anyway, Migs, is this helpful?
Yeah.
I mean, is there more you want to go with this discussion?
No, that was helpful. I do appreciate it. Generally, I'm more on the marketer side, like you.
I think.
I don't know if that's going to be.
My last point though is just like if you're on Impervious right now, or anywhere in any kind of smart contract, you need to get that smart contract integrated. So if you want to get your MetaMask to work as MetaMask and you're staked on Impervious, you need to get the Impervious smart contract to be, integrated with MetaMask, and then all Impervious SLDs will work on MetaMask. That's basically the short answer. Okay, Dope Man, do you have something to share?
Thank you.
I was going to talk about the thing before. The conversation moved on. It doesn't matter.
The conversation what? Sorry.
Oh, the conversation moved on.
Oh, you can bring it back up.
I was just gonna talk about this. Yeah, sorry, I was having issues with my audio. I don't know if the whole censorship thing is a good thing to focus on, because I mean it's really, you either go the whole hog with decentralization to the point where censorship is impossible. I mean, you can do that with Handshake, but you can also do, go about it a much more centralized way through using a registrar. I think there needs to be more registrars popping up of independent handshake registrars, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Sorry, can you
go ahead, Derek.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't hear what you said. There needs to be a what?
Oh, I was saying more independent registrars who, their sole business is selling handshake domains, handshake SLDs.
I can tell you, I plan to do that probably down the road to help fund Loom. But yeah, it's just it comes down to the value. Some people care, but are here to some people are here to for purely as a business perspective, and they don't all hold the same values. But for me personally, I'm trying to give web freedom. So for me, I care about doing as much anti-censorship as possible while also making it accessible. So it is a balance, and so I'm the one basically having to deal with all the challenges that you're probably thinking in your head. So and that's what I'm basically getting funding for. So it's the easy route is going to Namecheap and selling and flipping for $5 each. But the censorship part is the real challenge, and I'm trying to deliver that. So, but it is a spectrum, and I talk to people on all sides of the fence regarding this, and people have a lot of different opinions. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah,
it goes back to Bitcoin. I mean, from my conversation with people about Bitcoin, everyone screams about censorship resistance, but most people use centralized exchanges and centralized solutions for Bitcoin itself, right? I mean,
It's all
so
about ease of use, though, isn't it? It's whatever's most convenient to people in a lot of cases, unless you're more ideological about things, which I think, people like me and Derek here are probably on that side of the spectrum, where we care about like true online freedom, I guess, to
Well,
the point where it's like,
if you want true decentralization, talk to Angry Mouse. He's even more on that spectrum than I am. I'm a moderate because I had to play the
yeah,
middle for everything. He's the one. He wants to basically have you you pay for everything and have a tinfoil hat, have a full node. He acts like a true OG in that sense. Me, I'm more of I want to be able to you be able. My goal is you go to a website, you download a program or extension, you click on it, you make an account, and then whatever website your friend gave you, you go on there, and you can access it decentralized. And you have a web account, and you just go online, right? And it's boring. And the fact it's boring means it works.
yeah, I
But
yeah, I
yeah,
agree.
mean, this unfortunately, I mean, I always think of JJ, one of the founders of Handshake. There's an article I read. Everything he starts decentralized, it becomes centralized. I think it was him or somebody in a white paper or some article, but they talk about how RSS became Twitter, right? When they talk about all these different protocols that get taken over and centralized and moved to a centralized solution because of ease of use, right? Like I'm forgetting some of the others. Even email. There was a recent article from LOP about email is basically like
Gmail.
centralized now with like you got like 5 or 10 major email service providers like
Yeah.
Gmail, maybe Yahoo. There's some Chinese ones, so even those protocols become taken over because probably really it's the ease of use by us as a user, and then it just gives all that resource and money to a small group of people.
Well,
But
that's
it's
it's more
because they've made their services so easy to use specifically, right? Like
it's also
if there were other services where, you know, there was more of an option for openness, transparency, and overall freedom of what you're actually able to do on that service, and it was easy to use, I think people would, make the choice at that point. They would have an ultimatum between, do you want to keep supporting like a centralized, you know, corporation, or do you want to, you know, support a more decentralized internet
I guess so, but I mean,
structure
I always
overall?
kind of related. Oh, sorry, I don't want.
It's
I
it's
always
it's
related
like
to
it's like
WordPress.
it's like vote with your money, you know?
Mm. Yeah, but it's like WordPress versus Shopify. I'm an e-commerce seller is my main work, and most people, more and more people go to Shopify because you just
you
sign
don't have
up,
to
you
do that.
pay a monthly
You don't have to do
fee, you point your name
that.
server, and you're done. But WordPress is more like even WordPress is less, but you can do it fully yourself.
WordPress has been my career for about for a good decade. Trust me, I know. So yeah, we're in the same boat regarding that. What I will say regarding email is that it's not just easy use and simplicity, but it's more the fact that since Google gets money, you get FANG version of email, and so they get all these resources that have this AI bots and algorithms, and then they use that to create a sandbox for email to the point to where the only way you can get an email sent out or received for communication is by using one of these big five providers. Even if you want to use a smaller provider, the emails go to spam where you can't receive them, and I've had to deal with this in IT as a admin, and so it's not really that you want to use them because they're easy to use, but you're forced to use them because you're sending an email to some big corporation who has 10,000 people on Google Suite, and it won't go in unless you're in Google Suite. So yeah, it becomes a sort of insider's game where the only way you can get your mail received and do business is by going inside the sandbox. So it's
Yeah.
not just easy
That's
to
true.
use, but it's more of anti-competitive nature, as that they use a proprietary closed filtering protocols and filtering standards. They don't release. It's kind of like the IRS. Is that, oh well, you're in trouble. We're not going to tell you what it is. Or the SEC. Oh well, you're in trouble. Well, we're not going to tell you what the problem is.
I don't think it's going to start with businesses though. Like Handshake will grow from individuals more than anyone because it'll be, I mean, people like me, you know, setting up websites and then having people direct traffic to those websites that are using Handshake domains.
We're basically repeating the early .com boom with a bunch of
Yeah,
hobbyists and having to rebuild the web infrastructure. Loom's basically
yeah,
rebuilding the next web route, internet network, etc.
exactly.
I think just just to say, like, I think the bigger opportunity is not websites, but more as usernames. I think a lot of people in this space, because
I
domains,
think that's quite limiting though, bro,
Yeah,
because like that's
personally, I always get the usernames. I understand the utility, but I never
yeah,
liked the username idea because it feels like it just came from a Ethereum's elite culture. Like I never
yeah,
liked it at all because here's something funny. When I years ago, maybe up to 2 years ago, I was in, it might be in a bit sooner. I forgot. I was in the Reddit forums and saying, okay, why does everyone care about this? Everyone can see. Everyone can see my information. They can all see my transactions, my name, and it's like no one gave up about privacy. And I got laughed out, and I got laughed out of the damn thread.
I
And it's
I
like,
guess I'll say, but I mean, I think it's more than a wallet address username. I mean, the way I see a username working in Web3 in the future is, you got to think 5, 10 years out. You're right now. I'm Michelini on Facebook. I'm Mike Michelini on Instagram. Luckily, I'm Michelini on Twitter. But in the Web3, the idea is my username is not really my wallet address. Like I also am more of a Bitcoiner. I like my privacy. I don't want somebody to just look at my username and see how much money I have. So it doesn't have to be just for wallets. It's like your ID in the metaverse or in this new world. And then you don't have to say, oh, on Facebook's metaverse, I'm Mike Michelini one on OpenSea metaverse, on Instagram, on Elon Musk's metaverse, I'm this person. Find me here. Your username is across all
yeah, Mitchell, there's plenty of
identity.
there's definitely utility for that, but I just don't see it being taken up as that first thing that people are introduced to Handshake using.
handshake
I guess
domains more
I
than identity for
mean,
me.
my argument to that though is people don't even make blogs anymore now. It's like I have a blog, but most
But
people are
Social
dropping
media,
it.
surely that's
took
going against your point.
over all that. That's kind of sad, but social media took over the individual forums, and now you just have three fucking major systems that cover what used to be 2,000 different community sites.
But I'm not sure. I mean, I'm just having a debate. I'm in discussion, but it goes with my point because I could say you could find all my different assets, but content. It's more about content than money. But maybe money and content is the same because NFTs are like money. But
Well, on your
you can
point though
see what
about
I've
content,
created across any
uh,
platform.
The big
but
problem.
that's assuming that all those platforms are connected through your username. But my point to you would be with that about what if, yeah, maybe that is the case, but you create that connection by having a small website which links to all of your social media profiles, like a
True.
link tree, like with the
Yeah.
D-links thing that we had. I mean,
Yeah.
there are still people doing that, or has Skynet had some sort of weird?
Well, yeah. Let's just say that Loom is kind of taking over that in a big picture, and I've been talking to Nathan. Let's just say that I've done my part to help for that. My port is probably going to be the primary one up, but it's a account only because abuse. And if you want to get D-links up, talk to Nathan, support at Namebase. He's wide aware of the problems. There's nothing else I can do at that point. It's all I've already helped them on the code. If you want that ever running, nag Namebase.
Yeah, no, it was only a minor point about D-links. I was more talking about just the structure of a website like that in general.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Metro,
Well, like I'm saying, it would almost be, yeah, I mean, your homepage, but you wouldn't have to have any technical. You gotta make it
No,
like
yeah.
you have to make it so easy if they're just pulling in their because some people, on Ethereum they just show their photos. There's a guy, Sean Murray, he has like eth.photos, and then I haven't studied it deep enough, but it pulls your photos and it shows it there based on your username. But you put your username in these different platforms, and then you could see the content. It's kind of what I see, right? I also don't want to show how much money I have publicly to
I think I
everybody.
know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Metro, there is one little thing that to clarify. The reason I get annoyed about the identity stuff, especially with ETH, it's not that it's most. I understand the point of it. The problem is that, and I do like the idea of you having a digital ID, like identity, if you can use it in the metaverse and whatever. Even though I think the metaverse is frankly a bunch of BS to an extent, I would probably call it Web3 VR before I call it metaverse. But the real problem is that due to Ethereum, the nature is that just by having your ID on Ethereum with anything, people can look you up and see what your money is. It's not that it's and so whatever ID you have, if it's attached to a wallet, they can have access in it. People can look that up, and that's the problem itself. Unless you're doing something like secret network where it's a privacy-based blockchain with an identity, where they can identify you, but they can't see what you have. That's why the only reason
Yeah, I mean,
HNS might be better because HNS is one UFCO. You can't just look up everyone's history in about 5 seconds and get a full analytics chart from EtherScan. And two, it's no one's going to be holding all of their net worth in HNS for many people. There's going to have a couple of domains in there, and then that's not going to link them to their Ethernet to their Ether address or whatever other blockchains they have. So
yeah,
you're not linking you're not really giving up all the information about you. And so
yeah, no, I agree. I'm
I'm
also,
not against the identity on NFTs for looking up yourself in any social application, but it's more of the fact that those identities are often wallets linking are implicitly linking and telling you how much money that person has. Understand?
yeah, no, I get it. I mean, I don't want to be anti-Ethereum, but lately I've been less and less interested in it. I mean, I still see the
I
value in
sold
it, but
everything, bro.
what's that? Sorry.
I said I sold all my ETH already. I sold all my ETH, given I think probably even before the merge. I think, I basically went and I bought a lot of large HNS assets. So yeah, I'm fairly bearish on ETH. I like EVM as a whole. And I think it's like the S3 for smart contracts is not going to go away anytime soon. It's like a necessary evil, kind of like AWS. But yeah, I'm not really having much of hope on it, and it's kind of why I'm sitting and waiting because my big worry right now is that everyone's porting their stuff to Impervious and EVM, and my big concern is EVM is going to get fucked, and we're going to have problems in the long term. So yeah, I'm kind of sitting and waiting and letting that play out. Plus, my technology is
Yeah,
not ready yet to begin with. But
I
I
think
just, but
I
yeah,
think it's worth bringing up. Again, I'm not going to try to bash on Ethereum, but I think the point is it's a multi-chain verse. I don't want everything on Ethereum personally. I don't want all of my stuff on Ethereum. So I do want to bring it up. I did a bunch of videos lately on SkyInclude, but one was OFAC. I don't know if we want to comment on this. I see just some people maybe that would be better to speak about that than me, but it has made me paranoid, and I think us as Handshake community should ask the Ethereum naming solution and other Ethereum projects what do they think about OFAC, OFAC. It's man, you can go to skyinclude.com/OFAC, and I have a video and a long blog post about it. But it basically means like it's a U.S. Department of Treasury or Security to prevent money laundering, which of course money laundering is not good. I mean, the definition of money laundering, but the point is that they
Because it's
can
the
censor transactions on Ethereum with
it's the
validators
Office
on
of
proof of stake.
Foreign Assets Control.
Thanks so much, Dopeman. Yeah, Office of Foreign Asset Control. So what happened when they did the merge, as Derek mentioned, moving from proof of work to proof of stake a couple months ago, it became a validator way to verify or make new blocks on a blockchain, right? There's proof of work and proof of stake. Bitcoin's proof of work. Ethereum used to be proof of work, but during the merge, or in the merge, it moved to proof of stake. Handshake's on proof of work. But when they did that, there's this OFAC compliance. So validators, which are ones that sign transactions, I hope I'm saying this correctly, please correct me. I believe over 51% of validators on Ethereum now are OFAC compliant, meaning they will
Roughly, you can
censor transactions. Right,
you can
Derek? Do you want to explain?
I think it's like I think there's there's like there's like MEV there's I forget the exact website, but if you search about if you search about on Ethereum about MEV boost, I believe there's at least one site that tells you about the censorship about it. And really, it's really not much of a reminder. It's just the fact is that the nature of it is that you have a bunch of people. The real problem is you have a shit ton of exchanges. They're just having everyone pile into exchanges, giving power to the validators. Because what's happening is that outside having a one or two decentralized pools with like SCEs, which is a whole another ball game. One or two decentralized systems for distributed staking is you have some very large big fish. They're now just basically taking the whole pie, and everyone just instead of putting in their own wallets and staking it with a decentralized, they're just going to Coinbase and saying, hey, give me, and they're getting an API off the staking, giving Coinbase all the power, and now Coinbase is basically a bank, a bank that's not a bank, and now they have to screw everybody over.
So again, it's something to keep in mind. And I had, I do have some Ethereum supporters, and I don't want to say I still hold Ethereum. I have, I'm not saying I'm totally out of Ethereum, but I think it's just something we as a community, whether we're Handshake or any of these, we should be aware of this and monitoring this. But somebody was critical on my video saying it doesn't matter if it's 51% OFAC compliant validators. The only problem he said, this commenter said, is if it's 100% OFAC, because he says even if 51% are OFAC compliant, they still can get the block through. We just have to wait until a block is validated by a non-OFAC compliant validator. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if everybody understands this stuff.
What it really means, it's still kind of bad, is it means if you have, let's say, 5 people running and 4 of them ban it, and it's like a random selection, you have to wait until you get lucky. Imagine every single time you try to wait on it gets submitted, it gets rejected. It's only one tower up the line trying to accept it. You have to basically get lucky and wait until that one teller picks up your damn transaction, because the other 4 won't. That's what it comes down to, and that's very different. Yeah. And it's actually kind of bad, because with mining, it's a lot more people kind of cap on, but it's a lot more capital intensive. But you can't really just have. But exchanges aren't really in the business of being a miner. But they can easily but they have millions of dollars worth of ETH that they can stake, so they can instantly turn into a validator. So the dynamics shift very, very fast. That you have all these high fees and all these other problems. Well, frankly, proof of stake is not needed to solve L2 and scalability, in my opinion. Because L2 is just like AC. And L2, in the simplest terms for contracts, it's just ACH batching. It's just batching. So you do not really need it. So it's like, I find the whole proof of stake thing for Ethereum is like some just politics and just some people being greedy. That's my view, at least, on it. And so the whole issue that come down from here is that you are going from a bunch of miners who might be centralized, but they're still competing to a bunch of exchanges who are even more centralized, and they're in a position to where they have to follow money regulations, and they have to censor things because they may be considered a money transplanter or whatever you want to call it, and it's even easier to pressure them because of the nature of the system. And literally all the validators are in the fucking United States. So what do you think
what I mean.
happen?
Yeah. So maybe I'll kind of bring it back. Let's maybe get back on naming, but let's just kind of like, I want to make everyone aware, and please do your own research, due diligence. But basically, what this topic is OFAC is a U.S. government agency that says, hey, Russia is bad, or hey, this country or these people are bad. Don't allow them to do transactions on this blockchain, right? So if enough of them block that wallet from trying to do a certain transaction, of course, moving money, or it could be a DNS update, right? And anything, right? Any transaction, which is this activity on this blockchain, will be blocked because those validators on proof of stake are complying with the request of that U.S. government body. So, I mean, I feel like that's a negative to international groups. Of course, I don't support terrorism, but it also makes these other countries look at these blockchains and say, hey, this is basically just another form of U.S. government regulations in a blockchain, and you look at China, I just finally got out of China, but they want to make their own, they don't want any of this. They want their own centralized private blockchain called CBDC, and they can just delete your money, but that's what Ethereum looks like it's becoming to me by the US government.
I just referred to any of that, like I just referred to it as the Fed chain. That's just it's the Fed chain at that point. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all I really call it. Is if it gets to the point where you can't do anything, where people are looking this way, and it's like it's captured it just becomes a Fed chain. That's all. That's just why I'm kind of avoiding. Frankly, the only reason I have to use ETH right now is because of the liquidity, because I can't really find good stable coins, or it's hard to use stable coins or any safe money on-chain money assets outside Ethereum at this point, because the liquidity is still slowly gravitating outwards, and that's really the only reason I have to use Ethereum. Otherwise, I would avoid it.
Let's maybe move on. I'm going to cut in 20 minutes. Let's try to keep it to 2 hours. If anybody is on the audience that wants to come up, you should be able to request stage. We want to make this open platform. We welcome every perspective. But the last part is, to bring this back to why this is something to think about as a Web3 domain or decentralized domain. If you're on Ethereum, again, this is a negative maybe for the impervious bridge using HIP-5 on Ethereum, but same with ENS domains or any of these Web3 naming solutions on Ethereum, they have to stay on Ethereum. So if Ethereum becomes a OFAC 100% OFAC compliant, it might block updates of your records on your domain. I mean, that's the core of it. Maybe that'll never happen, but
it also might. But what they can also blacklist impervious's contract address for it, and say anyone queer anything on here is going to go to jail, and automatically nuke the DNS stack, because even if you can't OFAC block it, they can still say, well, if you use this server for looking up your domains, we're going to throw you in jail. Tornado Cash is an example.
So, and then, again, I don't want to say I don't care about environmental friendly, I know it maybe is good for the environment, but I used to be on that side, but I think that's just some marketing ways to get, I don't know, I have a little bit of tinfoil hat myself, so I think some of that is used to kind of push
the environmental stuff. That's just a whole different area. All I can say, that's just a lot of that it's not wrong, but how they do it is intentionally to screw a lot of people. I voiced a lot of my opinions on that on my Twitter. I won't go into that here. If anyone wants to search, they can. But yeah, the whole environmental stuff with Ethereum, I find it funny, and that's just it's a whole rabbit hole itself. But people are not wrong about environment, but how it's being done it's more of a power play for control than the
Yeah,
actual environment.
exactly. It's used as a tool to get their way.
Yep.
Okay. Again, maybe I think that's enough on OFAC, but it's something I've seen people in Handshake or Bitcoin saying that on Ethereum tweets, and I don't see really any kind of response. They usually ignore it. So if I know a lot of you have debates on Twitter with different protocols, and a lot of them like to pick on Handshake for being a little bit in a weak position with our mining. You could also ask them what they think of OFAC, and normally what their basically response is, oh, even if it's 51%, it doesn't mean it's totally censored. That's basically their response. So, like if they want to pick on us, we can kind of use that to respond to them about the mining problem we're having. So we do have weaknesses in Handshake with the mining. Derek, just to bring back what Derek mentioned earlier, he says he's got a way or a plan to do more mining pools for P2P, which would definitely help with this mining issue we have with the F2 pool is the majority mining hash rate. But anyway, I'd love it if there's some new people that want to maybe bring up a question, a point, a criticism. We're almost at time. So I hope this was helpful. We try to do these every month. Mike Carson couldn't make it because of the hurricane. I hope everyone else is safe. And I'm trying to think if there's any other updates that I've forgotten about. But yeah, I mean, of course, crypto's getting crushed right now. It's I hope we're all losing. I think anybody in the game is losing money on any blockchain that they're in. I think we just got to stay positive, try to separate our personal and emotional life from crypto. It definitely seems like it does have, you get in this Twitter, it threads and, it does kind of have negative, I think, impact on our mind space. So I think we should touch grass, as they call it, take a break. I'm trying not to look too much at my portfolio, but try to realize it's a game. Money and business is a game. That's what my wife tells me when I get
Frankly, it's so
but yeah.
thin you have to really laugh at it. Like I feel sorry for a lot of people because I got caught in Luna, but it's like the whole thing is such an insane situation is that you have to just laugh at the absurdity of it all. Like you just have to laugh.
Yeah, I don't want to get, I'm not so much into all the blockchains, but this FTX, but it seems like the CZ guy did it because he was trying to censor US DeFi. I feel like I don't want to get into gossip or what I try to understand, but it seems like the FTX was trying to do some kind of compliance with US government, and I think a lot of people didn't like that in the crypto space. That's kind of what I thought.
What I just see it is I just see it the whole funny situation with FTX is all I see it is FTX. It was a degen. Sam was a degen trader from Wall Street, up in his ass, doing too damn much, and people treated him like a U.S. based coin that couldn't. They could. It was too big to fail, and it basically is blowing up in everyone's faces. So
Sounds
that's
about right. But I think there was
yeah.
also some. I feel like when CZ started selling is when it happened. It really
Yeah,
became.
what comes down to my view is that if you're trying to do 25x leverage on Apple token, on a tokenized version of Apple stock, and people are going crazy over that, there's red bells there. So I personally never went into FTX only because I feel like the website feels like a duct tape version of a jQuery UI. It's just bad. I never went into it, but it's like it's just the whole situation is just so insane that you just have to take a laugh at it. Like there's nothing else you can really do but just sit back and just laugh at everything that's going on. It's just
Yeah, I think the big lesson is don't
it's
use
just
leverage. I mean,
it's
I
just
think
absurd.
leverage is dangerous. I mean, I guess I don't want to sound like some kind of a dad or something, but leverage normally, of course, you can make a lot, but you can obviously lose a lot. I got into it once with oil futures, and luckily I broke even. That I lost sleep over oil future trading. Like I did that, so yeah, trading derivatives is highly risky. Margin calls. I've had brokers call me when I was on the wrong side of a trade on a leveraged trade, that's scary, you know? So if you want to be a degen, just buy john.sats.degen TLD on Circa or Pork Bun or Namecheap. Buy it. To be a real degen. I mean, it seems like even these really smart people that think they can do it, ultimately you're going to get caught on the wrong side. It seems like. I don't want to wish ill, but yeah, I mean, leverage trading is just dangerous. You know, like I said at the beginning of this call, invest what you can. It sounds horrible, but invest what you can totally lose. Don't invest more than you can lose. I mean, that's why I luckily can sleep at night, even though I'm losing money right now. I'm not losing more than I can lose. You know, so hope that helps somebody. Okay, I guess back to Handshake. I think just to recap what we've talked about today, I took some notes, and this was recorded and will be posted on various channels. Also support Terra Spacers. He's recording this and we'll be sharing it. He takes donations. Of course, talk a little bit of crypto market. We talk about Dot Records, how they did a really good pre-launch and focus on a community. The bridges, we talked a bit about Ethereum and why some people in Handshake have been tweeting and a little bit kind of complaining why is everything on Ethereum, but we also brought up Angry Mouse and others look like they're going to bridge Cosmos with the Stargaze naming solution, hopefully. I've also been talking to Americoin, EMC, but that looks a little bit more complicated. But there's bridges can be made, right? That's called HIP, Handshake Improvement. What is it? Protocol? Handshake Improvement Proposal 5005. Those are all being used HIP 5. So, anybody can look that up. I believe it's on GitHub, and you can learn how to make a bridge to different blockchains on Handshake to make.
In hip five for anyone for the non-technical. At the most simplest point, it's more of a breadcrumb telling you telling the browser or whatever program that's reading it where the hell to go. That's all it really is.
Okay, so that's HIP 5, and that's how Impervious is bridging to Ethereum, and any other TLD could do that even onto Ethereum. But I do remember Mark Smith saying on Twitter, and I do agree, and he's welcome to join these. He's just great at hosting these spaces. But he did say we as a community shouldn't have so many bridges to the same blockchain. But we don't have to use Impervious's bridge. People could make their own Ethereum bridge, make their own smart contract on Ethereum. It's welcome, just so people understand. So we talked about those different bridges for a bit. And then Derek came up and he shared about his request for people to support or get involved. He says even an hour of their time for helping with the centralization at the Handshake mining by helping with another pool. You could contact Derek here for that information, which would be really great. I'm thinking.
Yeah, more specifically, I'm needing anyone who's a Handshake protocol developer. If you're someone who's not a developer, I need someone on a low level that's basically someone like Matt. I know he's been too busy, but basically anyone who understands the Handshake protocol deeply. I need basically someone from that to be able to help out on the specific problems that I need. Also, one more correction, Michael, about when you said about the bridges. That might be understandable in some ways, but technically, when you're talking to Impervious, you're not making multiple bridges. You're just making multiple contracts. The bridge itself is the act of using HIP5 to route it. So you're not making multiple bridges. You're just having it go to that one chain for different like contract, but the bridge itself is HIP5.
Thanks for clarifying. That's great. Thanks, Derek. So, but it would still be another smart contract, but we support. I feel like I support that, but it's true. I do understand Mark Smith's full point. If we have too many, that means all these integrations of wallet on Ethereum, like Metamask, would need to be negotiated independently or as a group, I guess. But back to my recap of my notes. We talked about your second point was the grant request status for the DEX on Thorchain for Handshake as well as Saya, which would be awesome. I will try to follow up on the DWeb Foundation about that.
Yeah,
do you have an idea how much that would be? cost or time or something?
I really have no idea. That what I do know, and to be clarified, SIA is something I want to, but yeah, but obviously I'll handle SIA. SIA is something that is like probably about a year. There's a lot going on in my home tribe for that. So, but I'm just saying that SIA is something I do want as well. But Handshake is what you guys should be focusing on. What I can also tell you is that from some of the chats I've seen, I actually got banned from their Discord server, so I have to use an alternate account. But they have like 15 different chains that they had their validators voting on, and so what might need to happen is that somebody with clout needs to go there and introduce themselves and figure out in a back room to figure out how that needs to get started, because I think what happens is I think they want to get a preliminary idea of interest before anyone really starts work. So it might be best to go to ask them just to get to figure that out. Chango
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could try to step in there.
should be able to do the business aspect of that to figure that one out, and then ideally use money from the D-Web Foundation to do it, because I do know that Haven has a PR ready for them, and is in secondary. Haven's actually in second QE to get merged, and then Haven will actually is a fork of Mario, and they'll be getting Monario and XMR in. And if you think about that, if you get HNS in, that means you can basically bridge and swap from HNS to XMR directly.
Okay. I try my best to follow that. I'm glad this is recorded for somebody.
But basically, but put it this way, they have like 15 blockchains they want to integrate, and they're looking to get privacy stuff in. And so if you think about it, you can basically jump from HNS to BTC, ETH, USDC, USDT, XMR, like all no wrapping. It's all direct, and that's the point that you'll be able to solve so many of the issues that we have. So people can just jump in. So people can go buy BTC, get mess with HNS, take it back, and then put it in XMR for privacy, and then you get the idea. Like they won't have to deal with central exchanges anymore. So I don't know how much that's going to be on, for amount of work, but I assume that the community foundations would raise it or use the funds from Opera if they could. That's something you'll have to figure out. But yeah, you probably want to go and just talk to them and figure out the interest or that information. One thing I do know 100% is I found in some rules is the chain needs to be at least 2 years old. They won't, based on policy, they won't consider one that's younger than 2 years old. So there's a lot of details. So I guess follow up on that and do what's needed in the back office before I get too deep. But I think HNS probably within the next year probably has a pretty good chance to get started there.
More than 2 years, February 2020.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not really sure, but I do know obviously by 2023 we probably would be available. But yeah, I think Thorchain is. I think Thorchain is pretty much our best shot. Thorchain actually had a fork called Maya Protocol, so there might actually be 2 places to go. But I would talk to Thorchain. I would actually talk to Thorchain first, and because I think it's frankly the best shot. But yeah,
All right. I mean, that's great. Yeah, we got 5 minutes left. I don't see any other requests on the stage to come on stage. Yeah, we had a question about the HNS.2 from e.link, and we then talked. I don't have notes much. We were talking a lot about integrations and wallets and usernames, right, and domains and DNS versus smart contract integrations. So yeah, I mean, it was another. We talked a little. I brought up OFAC and just censorship on proof of stake, and so I think it was about 2 hours, and it was pretty effective. I hope people enjoy this. I know it's a bloody day in crypto, and I hope we're all staying positive, touching grass, and this will be posted on Terra Spaces soon, and we're also gonna put a Handshake.mastermind on a Handshake domain only, that you can see all the other archives as well. So I think we'll wrap up. Does everybody feel good? I see some new people popping in, but yeah, it was 2 hours, I think, is a good time frame. And we try to do these every month. Also, we have the Flamingo Handshake auctions the 2 weeks after usually, or kind of the idea is like we have this and then we have an auction the other half of the month. So half of the month Twitter Space, the other half auction, repeat. It's kind of the idea we've been trying to do with this format. So thank you all for hanging through the whole time, and let's keep on pushing.